My name is Mara Ellison, and I was 30 years old when I learned that the most dangerous lie in a family is the one everyone agrees to smile through. I did not arrive at my grandmother's birthday dinner looking for trouble. I arrived in the back seat of an Uber, holding a small gift bag on my lap, still answering work emails because that was the kind of daughter I had always been. Reliable, quiet, easy to overlook. The valet opened the door for me, and before I could even thank him, my grandmother turned from the restaurant entrance and froze like she had seen something impossible. Her eyes dropped from my face to the Uber pulling away behind me. Then she frowned and said, "Honey, why are you taking an Uber?" I gave her a confused laugh and said, "Because my car is in the shop." Her expression changed. Not angry yet. Worse. Careful. "Where's the Tesla we bought you for your 30th birthday?" For a second I thought I had misheard her. I looked at her, then at my father standing behind her with his hands in his pockets, and that thin little smile he used whenever he already knew the answer. "Wait," I said. "What Tesla?" Nobody moved. My mother looked down at her purse. My brother glanced toward the parking lot. And my father finally said, as if he were explaining something simple to a child, "Your brother has it now. He needed it more." My grandmother did not yell. She did not cry. She just went silent, looked at each of them one by one, and slowly lowered her hand from my shoulder. That was the moment I knew something in our family had just cracked open. Before I tell you what my grandmother did next, tell me where you are watching from and what the weather is like there. I want to know how far this story can travel. My grandmother's name was Evelyn Whitmore, and if you only saw her sitting at a table with pearl earrings and a folded napkin in her lap, you might think she was just another sweet old woman who liked handwritten thank you cards and lemon tea. That was the mistake people made with her. Before she retired, she had owned 3 small seaside inns along the California coast, and she had built them from nothing after my grandfather died. She knew contracts, property taxes, insurance paperwork, vendor invoices, and every polite little lie people used when they thought a woman her age would not understand money. My father, Richard Ellison, never seemed to remember that. He acted like she was fragile because she used a cane after her hip surgery, but Grandma's mind was sharper than anyone's at that table. My mother, Diane, understood that too, which was why she looked so nervous the second Grandma asked me about the Tesla. My brother, Blake, did not understand anything he could not turn into a selfie. Blake was 27, but my parents treated him like a misunderstood genius, one good opportunity away from greatness. He had started a luxury travel channel that mostly consisted of him filming expensive restaurants he could not afford, hotel lobbies he was not staying in, and motivational videos about success while my parents paid his rent. Whenever he failed, there was always an excuse. The market was wrong. His timing was wrong. People did not appreciate his vision. Whenever I struggled, I got a different speech. "You are strong, Mara. You will figure it out." I had been figuring it out since college. I paid my own rent. I paid my own student loans. I worked as an architectural lighting designer, which sounds glamorous until you realize it means standing in half-finished hotel corridors at midnight, arguing with contractors about fixtures, wiring, shadows, and deadlines. I loved my work, but it was not easy. My car had 200,000 miles on it, a heater that only worked when it felt generous, and a passenger side window that made a grinding noise every time it rained. I never complained about it because complaining never got me much in my family. My parents liked to say I was independent, like that was a compliment. But what they really meant was that I was convenient. They did not have to worry about me, so they did not. Grandma was different. She called me after big projects. She remembered which hotel lobby I had redesigned. She asked about my hands when I burned them on old fixtures. She noticed the tiredness in my voice when I tried to hide it. For my 30th birthday, she told my father she wanted to do something big for me. I learned later that she had wanted to drive down herself and surprise me, but her doctor had not cleared her for long travel yet. So she trusted my father. That was the part that hurt her most. She called him, told him she wanted to buy me a white Tesla Model Y because I was always driving to job sites, and asked him to help arrange the delivery. She wired him the money from her personal account, not the family account, not the business account. Her own money. In the transfer note she wrote, for Mara's 30th birthday vehicle. My father told her he would handle everything. 2 weeks later, he called her and said the surprise had gone perfectly. He said I cried. He said I kept saying I could not believe Grandma had done something so generous. He said I promised to drive down and thank her in person when work slowed down. None of that happened. I never got a phone call. I never got a key. I never got an email from the dealership. I did not even get a hint. What I got instead was a text from my mother on my birthday that said, "Hope you have a nice day. Don't work too hard." That was it. No dinner, no visit, no mention of a car. I remember sitting in my apartment that night eating takeout noodles over my laptop, thinking 30 felt a lot like 29, except my knees hurt more after job sites. Meanwhile, Blake had posted a video 2 days later standing in front of a white Tesla with sunglasses on saying, "Big things coming, finally moving like the brand I'm building." I saw it, rolled my eyes, and assumed he had rented it for content. That was the kind of thing Blake did. He had once rented a beach house for 4 hours and pretended he lived there. I had no reason to think that car had anything to do with me. That was what made the moment at Grandma's birthday dinner so strange. It was not just that my father had taken something from me. It was that he had built an entire fake memory around it, and everyone around him had agreed to live inside that lie. Inside the restaurant, the table had already gone quiet before we even sat down. It was one of those expensive coastal places with white tablecloths, soft lighting, and waiters who spoke like they were afraid of interrupting rich people. My grandmother had reserved a private room overlooking the water, but nobody was looking at the view anymore. They were looking at me, at my father, at Blake, and at the empty space where the truth had suddenly walked in and pulled out a chair. I sat beside Grandma because she took my wrist and guided me there. Her hand was warm, but her grip was firm. My father cleared his throat and said, "Mom, this is not the time." Grandma did not look at him. She looked at me. "Mara, sweetheart, did you receive a car for your birthday?" I swallowed. "No." My mother gave a little nervous laugh. "I think there may be some confusion." I turned to her. "Then clear it up." She pressed her lips together and glanced at my father like she needed permission to keep breathing. That told me more than any confession could have. Blake leaned back in his chair, spinning a key ring around his finger. I noticed the black Tesla keycard tucked behind his phone case. My stomach went cold. "Blake?" I said slowly. "Is that the car Grandma bought for me?" He shrugged. Not ashamed, not embarrassed, just annoyed that the conversation had become inconvenient. "I mean, it was never really yours if you never had it." My father snapped, "Watch your tone, Mara." I laughed once because the alternative was screaming. My tone? Grandma just asked where my birthday gift is, and Blake is sitting there with the key. My father lowered his voice, using that calm, heavy tone he used when he wanted me to feel like I was the unreasonable one. "Your brother needed reliable transportation for his business. You already have a car." "My car is in the shop," I said. Again. Blake smirked. "Exactly. You would have just run the Tesla into the ground driving to construction sites." Grandma turned her head toward him so slowly that even Blake stopped smiling for half a second. "You believe you deserved my gift more than your sister did?" Blake blinked. "I believe it made more sense. I'm building something public. The car helps my image." The room seemed to shrink around that sentence. Grandma looked at my father. "Richard, did I ask you to buy Blake an image?" My father's jaw tightened. "I made a practical decision." "With my money?" she asked. For my granddaughter's birthday? My mother whispered. Evelyn, please. People can hear. Grandma's voice stayed calm. Good. Then perhaps people will learn something. A few cousins stared down at their plates. An aunt coughed into her napkin. The waiter came in with champagne, saw everyone's faces, and froze in the doorway. Grandma raised one hand. Not yet. He backed out like he had walked into a courtroom. My father leaned forward. Mom, Blake needed help. Mara is stable. She has a career. She does not need the same support. I stared at him, and for 1 second I saw my whole life arranged inside that excuse. Every missed birthday. Every time I had been told to be understanding. Every time Blake needed, Blake deserved, Blake was struggling, Blake was special. My stability had never been rewarded. It had been used as permission to take from me. So because I work, I said, you decided I should get less. My mother whispered, that is not what he meant. Then what did he mean? I asked. Nobody answered. Blake finally muttered, it is just a car. Grandma's eyes moved to him again. Then give it back. His face changed instantly. What? If it is just a car, she said, give it back to Mara tonight. Blake sat up. I cannot do that. It has my rap scheduled next week, and I already filmed content with it. You filmed content? Grandma repeated. With your sister's birthday gift. My father said, enough. The word came out too loud. For the first time that night, Grandma smiled. It was small and cold. No, Richard. I believe enough was when you lied to me and told me my granddaughter cried from happiness. I turned to him. You told her that? His face flushed, but he did not deny it. My chest tightened, not because of the car anymore, but because I imagined Grandma sitting at home, smiling at a story that never happened, believing I was too busy to thank her properly. He had not just stolen from me, he had stolen from her too. Grandma folded her napkin and placed it beside her plate. Cancel the champagne, she said to the waiter when he returned. Then she took out her phone. My father frowned. Who are you calling? Grandma did not look at him. Someone who still knows the difference between family and fraud. Grandma did not make a scene in the restaurant after that. In some ways, that made everyone more afraid. If she had shouted, my father could have played the victim. If she had cried, my mother could have comforted her and softened the room. But Grandma simply stood, touched my shoulder, and said, Mara, come with me. I followed her out into the hallway while the rest of the family sat there in silence, trapped with the dinner they had ruined. Near the front entrance, away from the private room, Grandma turned to me and asked a series of questions so precise, it felt like she had already become a witness preparing a statement. Did you authorize your father to accept a vehicle for you? No. Did you sign anything related to a vehicle? No. Did you receive an email from a dealership? No. Did anyone tell you I had purchased one? No. Her mouth tightened, but her eyes stayed clear. Good. I needed to hear that from you. Then she called her attorney, Harold Kim. I had met Harold twice before, both times at family gatherings where he somehow managed to look friendly and impossible to fool at the same time. Grandma put him on speaker. Harold, she said, I believe Richard misappropriated a gift I purchased for Mara. There was a pause. Then Harold said, Do you have documentation? Grandma looked toward the restaurant doors. I have everything. That was not pride in her voice. It was disappointment sharpened into action. That night, she did not go home with my parents. She asked me to drive with her assistant back to her beach house, and I sat beside her in the back seat feeling like the floor of my life had tilted. I was angry, but under the anger was something heavier. I kept thinking about all the little moments I had ignored because they were easier to survive that way. My mother changing the subject whenever Grandma mentioned my birthday. Blake suddenly having a white Tesla in his videos. My father asking me not to visit Grandma for a few weeks because she was tired. None of it had been random. It had been choreography. At the house, Grandma made tea neither of us drank. Then she opened her laptop. She found the bank transfer first. The note was exactly what she had said. For Mara's 30th birthday vehicle. My name was there in black and white. Next came the emails from the dealership. The sales associate had written, "We are excited to help with the surprise gift for your daughter." My father had replied, "She will love it." I stared at that sentence until the words blurred. She will love it. Like I had been a prop in a lie he was proud of. Harold arrived just after 10 with a leather folder and the kind of calm that makes guilty people nervous. He reviewed the transfer, the emails, and the registration details Grandma had downloaded. The car had first been purchased using Grandma's money, then placed under my father's event company for insurance purposes. "That is a problem," Harold said. "A serious one." Grandma asked, "Is it criminal?" Harold did not answer quickly. "It depends on what was represented, who signed what, and whether Mara's identity was used. We need the dealership packet." My phone buzzed then. It was my friend Tessa Reed asking why Blake had suddenly deleted 3 Tesla videos. My heart jumped. I called her and explained as much as I could. Tessa did not waste time. "I screen recorded 2 of them last month because I was making fun of his fake entrepreneur voice," she said, "Sending them now." A minute later, my phone filled with clips. Blake leaning against the Tesla. Blake saying, "This baby is part of the brand now." Blake laughing while my father filmed him from the driveway. Then there was one clip that made Grandma go completely still. Blake was in the driver's seat saying, "Shout out to Dad for making things happen. Sometimes you have to redirect resources to where they'll multiply." Redirect resources. That was what they called stealing from me. Grandma asked me to send everything to Harold. Then she scrolled through her messages and found a text thread with my mother from around my birthday. My mother had written, "Mara does not know yet, right?" Grandma had replied, "Richard said he is surprising her this weekend." My mother had responded with a single heart emoji. Later, in a separate message to my father that Harold obtained from a shared family account backup, my mother had written, "Your mother will be furious if she finds out Mara never got the car." That was the moment I stopped pretending my mother had only stayed quiet because she was scared. She knew. She had known for months. Grandma closed the laptop and sat back. For the first time all night, she looked old. Not weak. Just deeply tired. "I trusted my son," she said, "and he used my trust as a hiding place." I did not know what to say. Part of me wanted to comfort her. Part of me wanted someone to comfort me. Harold tapped the folder. "We can demand return of the vehicle and reimbursement for unauthorized use. We can also examine the signature trail. But if you want them to admit what happened, do not accuse too early. People like Richard prepare excuses when they feel attacked." Grandma's expression changed. The tiredness remained, but something colder settled over it. "Then we will not attack," she said. "We will invite them to explain themselves." I looked at her. "Explain themselves?" She nodded. "Your father does not confess when he is cornered. He confesses when he believes everyone else is too polite to stop him." The next morning, my father sent me a text before 8. It said, "Your grandmother is upset. Do not make this worse." I stared at it for a long moment before typing back, "You did that without my help." He did not respond. By 10, Grandma had invited everyone to her beach house for what she called a family financial discussion. That was the exact phrase she used. Not confrontation, not emergency, not apology. A family financial discussion. My father must have thought the wording meant she was ready to be reasonable, because when he arrived with my mother and Blake, he looked irritated but confident. Blake came in wearing designer sunglasses pushed up on his head, which was bold for someone accused of driving another person's stolen birthday gift. My mother carried a bakery box like pastries could soften fraud. Grandma greeted them at the door with the same calm smile she used for hotel guests who complained about ocean noise at an oceanfront inn. "Come in," she said. "We have a few things to clarify." The living room had been arranged like a quiet little courtroom. Grandma sat in her armchair. Harold sat at a side table with a folder. I sat near the window, where I could see the driveway and, not surprisingly, the white Tesla parked beside Blake's rental apartment sticker. My father noticed Harold and stopped. "Why is he here?" Grandma said, "Because I am old enough to know when a family discussion requires a witness." Blake scoffed. "This is insane." Grandma looked at him. "You may want to save that word for later." My father sat down hard. "Mom, I know you are upset, but this has gotten out of hand. I was trying to help Blake. Mara is not some helpless little girl. She has a job. She has her own life. Blake is building something, and he needed a vehicle that matched the opportunities he is pursuing." Grandma nodded as if she were listening to a business proposal. "So your position is that Blake's image mattered more than Mara's gift?" "That is not what I said." "Then say it more clearly." He looked at me. "Mara, you know how this family works. We all help where help is needed." I felt my hands curl in my lap. Funny, I only hear that sentence when I am the one being taken from. My mother jumped in. "No one took from you on purpose. Your father was trying to make the best choice with the information he had." Harold finally spoke. "What information was that?" My mother blinked like she had forgotten lawyers ask follow-up questions. My father said, "The information that Mara did not need a new car." Grandma turned to Harold. "Please write that down." My father's face darkened. "Mom, I want to remember your reasoning exactly," she said. "Continue." "That was the trap, and he walked straight into it because men like my father cannot resist an audience." He began explaining how Blake's work required appearances, how a Tesla looked professional, how my old car still technically ran, how the vehicle remained within the family, and how he intended to make it right later, once Blake's business improved. Grandma let him talk. She let him build the whole ugly tower himself, one entitled sentence at a time. Then she asked, "When you told me Mara cried because she loved the car, was that before or after you decided she did not need it?" The room went silent. My father's mouth opened, but no words came out. Blake muttered, "Grandma, that part does not matter." "It matters to me," she said. "I would like to know when my son decided to make me a liar." My mother whispered, "Evelyn, please." Grandma reached for a remote and turned on the television mounted above the fireplace. The screen lit up with the bank transfer. My name was right there. Then came the dealership email. Then Blake's video. Then the text from my mother. Then the insurance documents showing the car under my father's business. With each image, the room changed. My father went red. My mother went pale. Blake stopped leaning back and started sitting forward, like he could somehow grab the truth off the screen before it finished loading. Harold said, "We also requested the delivery packet this morning. There appears to be an electronic confirmation attached to an email address Mara says she has never used." I turned to my father. "You made an email address for me?" He said too quickly, "I did not sign your name." Harold looked down at his folder. "No one said you did." That was the first crack. Blake looked at my father. My mother closed her eyes. Grandma sat very still. "Richard," she said softly, "did you use your daughter's identity to complete delivery of a car you knew was purchased for her?" "This is being blown out of proportion," he snapped. "It is a car. A car. Mara survived without it. Blake actually benefited from it." I stood up then, because I could not sit inside that sentence. "You keep saying I survived like that makes it okay." My voice shook, but I did not care. "I survived because I always had to. That does not mean you were allowed to steal from me." Blake rolled his eyes. Oh my God, Mara. You act like you were living under a bridge. You still got here last night, didn't you? Grandma's face changed. It was not loud. It was not dramatic. But everyone in that room felt it. She turned off the television and set the remote down. Blake, she said, you have 30 seconds to apologize to your sister before I decide whether you leave this house with anything except the clothes you wore in. Blake looked at my father for help. My father said, Mom, do not threaten him. Grandma looked at him next. You are mistaken, Richard. I have not started threatening anyone. Then she picked up the folder Harold had prepared. Now I will speak. Grandma opened the folder slowly, and for the first time in my life, my father looked afraid of his own mother. Not annoyed, not offended, afraid. I spent most of my adult life building assets your father did not leave me, she said. I did that because I wanted my family to have stability. I did not do it so my son could practice favoritism with my money. My father tried to interrupt, but she raised one finger and somehow he stopped. Richard, effective immediately, you are removed as secondary administrator from every account, property arrangement, and family trust document where I still have authority to remove you. My mother gasped. Blake said, Wait, what does that mean? Harold answered, It means your father no longer has legal access to manage or receive funds on Mrs. Whitmore's behalf. Blake looked stunned, not because he understood the legal structure, but because he understood the word funds. Grandma continued, The event company loan I gave you last year will now be reviewed by Harold. Every dollar will be documented. If personal expenses were paid from business funds, we will address that separately. My father's face had gone gray around the mouth. Mom, you will destroy my company. No, she said. I will find out whether you already did. Then she turned to Blake. Your proposed investment is cancelled. Blake stared at her. You promised to consider it. I considered it. My answer is no. Because of a car? He demanded. Grandma's voice stayed even. Because a man who uses another person's gift to build his public image cannot be trusted with private money. Blake stood up. That is not fair. I almost laughed. He had driven my birthday gift for months, called it his brand asset, mocked me in front of our family, and now fairness had suddenly become important to him. Grandma pointed toward the window. The Tesla will be returned to Mara today. Harold has prepared 2 options. You may return the vehicle in acceptable condition within 24 hours and cover the insurance, detailing, inspection, and legal costs connected to this matter. Or you may reimburse the full purchase price, all usage costs, and all legal expenses. If the delivery documents show identity misuse, Harold will advise Mara separately on whether to file a report. My mother stood up so fast the bakery box slid off her lap and hit the floor. Evelyn, you cannot encourage Mara to report her own father. Grandma looked at her with such sadness that my mother sat back down. Diane, you knew. My mother's mouth trembled. I was trying to keep peace. No, Grandma said. You were trying to keep comfort. Peace requires truth. My mother began to cry, but Grandma did not soften. For 1 year, the monthly support I have been giving you and Richard for household expenses will stop. If you need money, you may show Harold a budget like any responsible adult. My father exploded. This is humiliating. Grandma looked around the room, then back at him. Humiliation is arriving in an Uber and discovering your family gave your birthday gift to your brother. What you feel now is accountability. That sentence landed so hard that even Harold looked down to hide his reaction. My father turned to me, desperate now. Mara, are you really going to let her do this? Over a car? I felt something inside me settle. For years he had counted on me to be the reasonable one, the forgiving one, the one who swallowed anger so everyone else could stay comfortable. But I had finally seen what my silence had purchased. Nothing. Not love, not respect, not even honesty. "No," I said. "I am going to let her do this because you still think the car is the problem." He stared at me. "The problem is that you looked at me and decided I was the only person in this family who did not deserve to be protected." Blake muttered something under his breath. Grandma heard it. "Blake, the keys." His head snapped up. "What?" "Put the keys on the table." "My equipment is in the car." "Then remove it." He looked at my father again, but my father had no power left to lend him. Blake stormed outside. Through the window, I watched him open the Tesla and yank out camera bags, a ring light, a branded jacket, and 3 pairs of shoes. It would have been funny if it had not been so pathetic. When he came back in, he dropped the key card on the coffee table like it burned his hand. Grandma did not pick it up. She looked at me. "Mara, that belongs to you." I walked across the room and took it. My fingers closed around the card and I waited for some grand feeling of victory. Instead, I felt quiet, heavy, free, but not happy. My mother whispered, "Mara, please do not let this split the family." I looked at her. "The family was already split. You just preferred it when I was the only one standing on the other side." My father said nothing after that. For once, he had no speech that could make him sound noble. Harold gave him paperwork before he left, and I watched my father take it with the stiff hands of a man who had never imagined consequences could have his name printed on them. I drove the Tesla home that afternoon, but not before Grandma insisted on sitting in the passenger seat for the first few miles. She ran her hand along the dashboard and said, "I wanted this to feel like joy." Her voice cracked just slightly, and that hurt more than anything my father had said. I pulled into a quiet overlook above the water and parked. For a moment, neither of us spoke. The ocean moved below us, gray and restless, and I realized the car had become something bigger than transportation. It was proof. Proof that I had not imagined the favoritism. Proof that my discomfort had a history. Proof that my father could not rewrite reality just because everyone was afraid of upsetting him. Grandma looked at me and said, "I am sorry I trusted him with something meant for you." I shook my head. "You did not steal it." "No," she said, "but I gave him the chance." I reached over and took her hand. "You also fixed it." She looked out the windshield. I should have noticed sooner. I wanted to tell her it was fine, but it was not fine, and I was done using that word to make other people feel better. So I said, "I think a lot of us should have noticed sooner." She nodded. "Then we notice now." Over the next few weeks, Grandma changed everything. Future gifts came directly to the person receiving them. No middleman, no family messenger, no vague promises. She updated her trust documents, removed my father from decision-making roles, and made sure every adult in the family understood that love did not cancel paperwork. Blake returned the car, but he did not return my trust. The inspection found scratches on the wheels, stains in the back seat, and adhesive marks from where he had started preparing the vehicle wrap. He had to pay for the repairs. When he realized Grandma was serious about canceling his investment, he posted a vague video about betrayal and toxic relatives. It got 43 likes, most of them from strangers trying to sell him cryptocurrency. My father called me twice. I did not answer the first time. The second time, I let it ring until voicemail. His message was exactly what I expected. He said Grandma had gone too far. He said Blake was depressed. He said my mother was crying. He said he hoped I was proud of myself. He never said, "I am sorry." That told me everything I needed to know. My mother sent longer messages. She said she had only wanted peace. She said she did not know how to stand up to my father. She said family should not punish family. I wrote back one sentence. Family should not steal from family either. After that, I stopped explaining. That was the lesson I wish I had learned years earlier. Some people do not misunderstand your boundaries. They dislike having boundaries at all. They call your silence maturity. They call your sacrifice love, They call your pain drama. But the moment you ask for fairness, they call it betrayal. Grandma and I grew closer after that, not because of the Tesla, but because of the truth. Every month, I drove down to see her. Sometimes we had lunch by the water. Sometimes we talked about business. Sometimes we did not talk about the family at all. One afternoon, she told me, "The older I get, the more I believe character is not shown by what people do when they are poor. It is shown by what they do when they think they can get away with something." I never forgot that. The car helped my work. Yes, it made long drives easier. It saved me from breakdowns and rental bills and the constant stress of wondering whether my old car would start. But the real gift was not the Tesla. The real gift was watching someone I loved choose truth over comfort. That changed me. It taught me that forgiveness without accountability is just permission for the same wound to happen again. It taught me that parents can be wrong, siblings can be selfish, and silence can protect the person causing harm more than the person being harmed. It also taught me something important for anyone listening. Keep records. Ask questions. Do not let guilt make you hand over your rights. A healthy family does not need lies to stay together. A loving family does not punish the responsible child for being responsible. And when money, gifts, or property are involved, clarity is not disrespect. It is protection. My grandmother gave me a car for my 30th birthday, but what she really gave me was far more valuable. She gave me proof that love without respect is control, and she showed me that sometimes the bravest thing a family can do is finally tell the truth.